We're going to take a tour around Sint today, and we're going to use this little GoPro camera that Justin was nice enough to lend me. Our vehicle for driving around today is going to be this marvelous bicycle. Our vehicle has 8 speeds. It's not automatic, you have to shift by hand. It has struts here, shock absorbers, which is kind of nice in the front. Disc brakes. It doesn't have a lot of storage capacity, and it doesn't have any heating, but it does have air conditioning, and seats are kind of ancient. Other than that, there's no radio, no entertainment, so you just have to do with me. So let's get started. Okay, this is home. We live on a cul-de-sac. This is the end of the cul-de-sac. These houses are from the 1970s, so that's home here. Just a duplex. Garages are attached. Pretty reasonable house, about 1,800 square feet. All brick, double glass. Probably built to last 100 years. As you can see, a lot of the pavement here is made out of stones. That's quite good for catching water, so we don't get too much runoff. Water can sink actually between all these bricks. We'll be seeing more of that around town. So we live at the end of the cul-de-sac. We decided to do that when we bought the house with the kids. Okay, we're gonna split this tour into 2 parts. Today it's 5:30 and not so sunny, but tomorrow we're gonna go into downtown. There'll be more activity. We'll go in the morning. But right now it's quite peaceful. A lot of people are on vacation. Houses are pretty expensive. There was one you might have seen. There's a sign out on our cul-de-sac. It's about $500,000 for that one. I don't know how much this one cost that we just passed. Okay, we're going to head into the park. It's one of the reasons I like to live here. It's quite peaceful. It doesn't always look like this in the winter, and we do have some evergreens in here. Here's our little petting farm. Has different animals in it. It's staffed by volunteers, and we have these lagoons here. They're not very deep, something like about 2 feet, maybe at most. You can skate on them in the winter. I see some people fishing in here. And of course, we have some goats here. There's different animals, mostly Dutch farm animals, but there are some llamas here. I saw some turkeys, different animals, I guess donkeys, chickens. Of course they have rabbits. The park gets pretty busy, for example on Sundays. There's a big playground over here for kids. Used to come here cable car out. So, giant sand area here, which is quite nice. But we don't really need this park, because to get away, if you want to get out into the wilderness, oh, there's the peacock. That's the nice thing about living in Sint. Town has everything you need, but in 5 minutes you're outside of town. People go jogging through here also. Maybe some people are on vacation and hear a barking dog. They left their dog here. Mosquitoes are still pretty good. There could be a lot of them in here because of those lagoons. We also had some nasty caterpillars that have some of these poisonous hairs, cause you to itch like crazy. I think it's getting less right now, the attacks. They like oak trees. The hairs are actually pretty nasty for up to 6 years. The city has stopped treating the trees, so it's kind of an epidemic. So these are pretty lucky homeowners here on our right. Their backyards butt up to the park, and their homes are worth quite a bit. It's pretty peaceful here most of the time. But because Sint and all the Netherlands is pretty much 90% completely flat, we do have music festivals or events. Sometimes we have the fair in downtown, and then we get noise, and then it's not so nice if you want to go to sleep. There's also blackberries that grow here on the side, but they're not ripe yet. There's blackberries all over, millions of them. You can pick them, but they're not ready to go. So Sint is a town. It merged with 2 other towns, and now we have about 60,000 people, but Sint itself has only about 17,000. So one of the things about this part of Netherlands, it's called North Brabant. It's quite famous for horseback riding. So I guess the Olympic champion in, I don't know, dresseur or something came from this area. There's lots of horse owners. They have excellent training facilities, excellent knowledge. And so you get these different clubs. I guess this one here is for archery. The pine horse in front of us down there is for horseback riding. And this Basic Fit is a big gym. It's really the discount gym. I'm not a member of this one. And we have a pretty big tennis club. If you like to play tennis, I think they have something like 16 clay courts. People play on them pretty much about 9 months a year. They have their own clubhouse. Remember, sports are organized different here in the Netherlands than the US, because most things are based on clubs, not high school. There are some public facilities, but not so many. The membership of the clubs they have some exclusive, expensive ones, and most of them are not that outrageous. So here we're going to come by the famous hockey fields. And if you know something about the Netherlands, they are usually, the men's and women's teams are in the top 3 in the world in hockey. So there's lots of money here in this sport. They have their own clubhouse. They probably have something like 450 members. Some people say it's an elite sport, but it's not true. And the best hockey players in the world come from North Brabant in this area, although there's some great ones in Amsterdam and in the Rotterdam area. I mean, naturally, if you play at very high level, you need to have lots and lots of players. I see the Rabobank. You might see the sign there in the distance. That's where probably half the money comes from. The Rabobank is one of the top 3 banks in Netherlands, and they sponsor the hockey. So this club here, they play at 10 different levels. I think their highest teams, maybe their men's and first women's teams, play something like on the 4th level, possibly. When you start playing into 3rd level, it starts to become national, and of course the top teams, there's actually some professional hockey now. They have some semi-pro players, although they've established a professional league now. They just started, but up until now it's been pretty much amateur hockey. So if you come and visit and they're playing, you can see some of the best players in the world here. They play against all the countries, usually the World Cup, Olympics. Okay, so we're actually at the edge of town. Ahead of us is a campground. It's a public campground. Nothing too special about it. It does have an artificial lake they built. We went and looked at with my mother. And at the very end of the road there's another big stable with some kind of pretty fancy riding club. And over here to our right is the track and field club that I guess Selena was a member of for a long time. Marie's done a few of the races, but she's not a member. Here's a sign about Sint Oedenrode. Roy is the name for Sint Oedenrode. It's his nickname. So we're out on a bike path. You can see the red part. Very common, high quality. We're going to go out to a farm where we shop sometimes. Yeah, here's the track and field club we just passed. So, yeah, we talk about farm fresh food. I know in the United States, farm fresh means officially, according to federal regulations, any food that comes to your table from within 450 miles. Well, I guess farm fresh for us means less than a mile. That's where we get some of our food. We shop at 2 different farms. This one's only open about 6 months, and there's another one. She has things for about 3-4 months. Oh, there's the raspberries. Actually, here they are. Let's see. There you can probably see them, but they're not mature yet. Some of them still have the flowers on it. It was actually a little bit too dry last month, so could have used more water. We also, of course, have lots of raspberries. Oh, there's a black one I saw. And we have other types of berries we can get here. Strawberries, of course. So yeah, these are working farms. So that's one of the strong points about living out here. If you want to get away, in 5 minutes you get away. speed bumps with something to regulate the speeds. So she doesn't have too many things, but enough. Things like broccoli, cauliflower, great carrots. She has different types of peas, cabbage, and new potatoes. So it's actually, you can just leave money, or you can ring her bell here. And there she has a little stand. So this is a family farm, and oh, here they are. There's our little stand. I see the beans, and actually she has turnips also in there, and cherry tomatoes. Let's see, strawberries, €1 a basket. That's pretty good. Great thing is, if they don't have them, their family, these are their fields out here. Sometimes she just calls out to her husband or some of the farm hands, and they just pull it out for you fresh, if you want to buy certain things that they're out of. This is also very common. You see all these trees on the side of the road. Most of the roads are lined with trees. It's pretty traditional. Sometimes you have problems with the roots. The other thing is that at any of the dikes, and there is one miniature little dike, it's called Linda Dike in this town. Dikes are usually all lined with trees to help erosion, stop erosion. So we're going to go back past the park on Zwembadsweg, which actually means swimming pool lane. And I guess in the 1910, 20, 30s, maybe 40s or 50s, not sure exactly when they started, they used to have a swimming pool out there. And it was a public swimming pool. It was open, so obviously it wasn't very warm. You can only use it in the summer. Nice houses with lots of land. The most valuable thing in the Netherlands. 1 square meter of land. Houses are not very big, but they have a lot of land. Of course, not all of it's zoned for living and putting in, housing. Speed up a little bit. most of these houses we're coming to, and including ours, they were built in the 1970s. We have different neighborhoods. Sint Oedenrode, there were people that started living here maybe 1,000 years ago. They found some remnants of some kind of town, probably around 1200. And if we go around tomorrow to downtown, some of the more older historic areas, there's I guess a Protestant church from 1400s. You know, it officially became a city, which was something special around the 1400s. But then, of course, we have things from 1700s, which we can still see some buildings. We have stuff from before the turn of the 19th century. Oh, we better go on the bike lane here. Now we have some houses from the 1920s. We have some from after the war. Of course, we have 70s, and we even have a new neighborhood that was built about 10-15 years ago. So here, yeah, we're on a bike lane, but you can see it's all hand-laid stones. You can see these streets are hand-laid out here. They're all done by people. They actually have machines that can lay them too, but majority of them, that's for very simple, straight runs. Most of the time they're not that straight. They're done by people. It's a specialized trade. And of course we have paved roads too, but again, it helps a lot with water management. Okay, we're going to go around the south side of town, and if you keep going straight along this bike path, which we're not going to do, you get to another little village, Oedenrode, which belongs to our city. There's about 2,500 people, and we shop out there sometimes. There's a lady who grows some of the best asparagus in the Netherlands. She also has raspberries, but her asparagus are just tops. And again, you're just buying it really farm fresh. She sells to fancy restaurants mostly. So this neighborhood here was built in the 80s. Little smaller homes. They have some freestanding, semi-custom ones. This is an old farm here with the Audi. So it's probably, I don't know, 150 years old. Our doctor used to live in it. So this is a big one. Oh, let me move here. It's really big. Probably something like 3,000 square feet. So you can see we have some high density housing. That's the way it works in the Netherlands. And then you have areas where, yeah, nobody lives, or low density, or other types of housing. So actually a protected bike lane again on the edge of town, and there's a area for some I guess you can call it semi-urban farming. You can get a piece of land and you can grow your own fruits, vegetables. It's coming up here. And everywhere you go here, you can see, here's a map. There's dozens of bike paths all around here for people to do anything from 5 miles to 50 miles. You don't have to have a race bike. This is not a race bike to get around. But there's all kinds of signs, and it's super well marked. You could get lost, but it's not a big deal. If you keep riding in one direction, pretty soon you'll come to civilization. So these are some of the lucky people, except for when there's events in town. Actually this house here, it's 2 houses. It was on sale for a while. It's actually, you can't see it because of all the bushes and the trees. But the one on the right was for sale for a long time. So it's pretty peaceful, but there is noise sometimes from hockey fields, and if there's events in downtown, like I said, Carnival or the fair. So out here to our right, that's where people have, I guess you would call it, the small private urban farms. I guess you have to pay something, a small amount of money. There's water. I see people are growing sunflowers, but many other things. We don't have a piece of land there. We'll go a little farther here to our left. Here to our left is one of the nature preserves, and we'll see it from the other side. There's some cows out here, so you can see the wooden bridges. There's one there. I think there's about 3 of them. So historically the river that's called the Domo used to flow through here, and then probably, I don't know, 300, 400 years ago, the people blocked it off, and this is a lower lying area, so it can be really damp in the winter, and they now kind of made it a nature preserve where they have all kinds of ducks, lots of different birds. They allow some cattle on this small part. We'll see it, I guess, tomorrow. So let's keep going into town. Here on our right, if you're lucky, they have a yoga center. They also have a senior center for senior daycare. They also have a children's daycare out here. So they're pretty lucky. There's very little or no traffic. Now, we'll be crossing a bridge, one of the bridges over the Domo. There's a couple. This is just only for bikes. It's the one that Justin goes kayaking on. The water will be very, very low today. It can be, I guess, as deep as maybe 12 feet in the winter. We haven't had any floods, but it can get pretty close. It can get, I don't know, 15, 20 inches from cresting. square feet, only one floor above the ground floor, but we can't see. They have deep backyards, and a lot of them have special garages in the back because they have a lot of different skills, craftspeople, tradesmen here that lived here traditionally. That it's very bumpy because this one's really laid by stone. So we're going to visit a little part of downtown. You can see 1750. So this is one of the oldest buildings that's still in use from 1750. And ahead of us you see the 10-story building Oedenrode. Significant manufacturing company we have here. It's been here since the 1920s. It was a family business, and at one time they were just as big as Philips. And the story is the guy built this tower here so he could see Philips in Eindhoven because they were rivals. And of course Philips became a multinational, and they're still doing well. I guess I've been inside the production plant. They're into cradle-to-cradle manufacturing, where you might have heard about the circular economy. They're really living it. So they have some of the absolute top best furniture as far as ergonomics goes. It's expensive, but they really do everything, and they're changing their business concept from selling it to, I guess, renting it. Oh. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Here, I want you to take a look at this house. It's kind of unique. Not sure quite how old it is, but yeah, definitely unique. So, we're going to what some people in North America would call a castle. And over here, on our left is the elementary school. We used to have kind of our own high school, but it's called the Fioretti. But now it's really a center here on our right for entrepreneurs. I mean, you know, demographics changed, and it's just not sustainable. But I guess they had something like 200-300 high school students when we first came here to live here in 1999. But the buildings are still used. So there's a huge park out here. What we might call the castle is actually a chateau built something like 250 years ago. There's a history to it. There's some family. I've been inside. It has some paintings. Now they use it for events. I've been in here for a wedding. Sometimes they have concerts. But you know, if you like your fantasies, it is a castle. It actually has a drawbridge here in the front.